We are live with co-founder of Imaginos Band, Rich Prater. Rich, what made you decide to get into music?
I don't know if anything necessarily occurred to really get me into music. I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, my grandmother used to sing me songs all the time, and songs that I still have burned into my memory very well today. But the thing that I think really got me was when I was in middle school, I was in choir. And my voice as a preteen, I guess you can say, was much deeper than most of the other guys that I was in there with, let alone the gals. And my voice it didn't mesh with the other singers and the other choir members, and I got made fun of and picked on. You can't sing, you suck, you're never gonna be able to do anything. And that really screwed my head up, because singing was something I really wanted to do. And the hard part was not the singing for me. It was being able to learn how to write music. But my oldest brother had this old electric guitar. I was about 14 at the time, and he was 6 years older than me. And I watched him play this song on there by Lou Reed, and it was extremely mind-boggling to me. I said, I love that. Show me how to play that. And so I did, and my grandmother knew that I was liking guitar playing. And so she sent me to this place in Austintown, Ohio. It would have been around the year 1989. This music instructor was on the corner of Kirk Road and Raccoon, if I recall, in Austintown, Ohio. And this music instructor, music teacher, said, okay, I want you to go home and learn to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And he wrote down where to put your hands. And no. And I showed him the 3 chords that my brother had showed me off the Lou Reed song. And I go, I want to learn that. He goes, well, that's just 3 chords. I said, yeah, well, show me the 3 chords. And so he did, and that was my first and last guitar lesson, and music lesson for that matter.
Okay, you said you're a co-founder. Tell us about how you and the other bandmates decided to work together.
Well, initially we didn't. I was just getting started, and I mean, I sucked. It was terrible. And Don and John were brothers, and they really became good friends of mine. And at the time, we felt as though we had a lot in common, and which we probably did as teenagers. That changed as we grew older. But John, however, was a musician's, what's the word I want to use? I mean, he was the nerve center of any kind of music instruction, period. I mean, he could play up-teen amount of instruments, and I mean, he knew how to play music really good. And the difference with him and me is he knew how to play it, and I knew how to write it. And so, and normally, one thing I always loved about John, still do, is that John normally was always playing something I wasn't. And so I could, and he could, and Don could. We could mesh what we were playing together, and we could come up with some good stuff. And our ideas weren't to just play music. Our ideas were to play good music, classic music. And it's very curious, but music that we played 1990, 91, all the way up to 95 is more popular now than it has ever been. Back in the days when we did it, it wasn't very popular at all. But as time goes on, more and more popular it becomes, certainly. Just very curious to me.
And you decided to go solo when?
Well, it really wasn't that easy. I said earlier that we felt as though that we had a lot in common. As we grew older, we found out we really didn't have that much in common. And, it got to the point to where I was writing all the lyrics, I was writing all the music, I was everything on the production side, they were just kind of sitting there. And they didn't like that because they wanted to put their 2 cents in, which is certainly understandable. And of course I was, I'm not the person now that I was all those years ago in that band all those years ago. I guess you can say I was kind of a dictator kind of ruler, like it was my band, everything had to go my way. Like I would ask them, guys, you got any material? And they'd say, give us a year or two, maybe we can come up with something. Well, that's, I always had it easy when I wanted to write a song because my biggest problem with writing a song was the first sentence. I can get past the first sentence, I can go to town with it. It's always that first sentence that I got to get past in order to make something that I'm trying to express. But but anyway, your question was, 1995 when we did the Rock and Roll Heart album. That was our last record, and then at the time in the early 90s, what I was writing was things they didn't want to write about, things they didn't want to sing about, things they didn't want to play about. That's what I'm saying, we just didn't have that much in common. But they certainly had a huge impact on the music. And it was, at the time, for us, was very successful, but did not become successful for an overall ordeal until later on.
Okay. Has anyone ever inspired one of your records that you have ever done?
All of them. Because I use, in my records, I use the same 3 chords. Same 3 chords that Buddy Holly used, Ricky Nelson, Lou Reed. These were my music people that I looked up to, that I thought the world of. Very, very simple, 3 chords. Even with just the 3 chords, there's millions of melodies. Millions of melodies. You couldn't run out of melodies if you tried. But they definitely have always had a big, huge impact. And one of my albums, the New Sensations album, one song on there is called Down at the Arcade, where, I always tell people, you want to know about my life, listen to my music, because my whole life's in all my records. And Down at the Arcade, I talk about how all my music is rooted in the 50s, and it really is rooted in the 50s. It's rooted from the 50s, just it's modernized, so to speak, for today's type of audience, I guess you could say.
Okay. Is there any one specific album that's dedicated to just one person?
Yeah, quite a few. There was a gal that I had an unbelievable hot for that I went to high school with. Her name was Kimmy, but I'm not going to be putting last names and stuff out there because I'm not here to insult or embarrass anybody. I have no intention of wanting to do that. But this gal meant the world to me. I guess you could say in a roundabout way it was, I wouldn't say it was my true first love, but it was my first obsessive love. I told her some years ago when I was talking to her on Facebook. I said, you know, you probably are the most written about woman on the planet as far as music is concerned. It's just something that had effective message. One whole album was dedicated to her, which was done in '91. I did that with Don and John. It was called Kimmy Island Baby. And several albums afterwards, I put a lot of the theses, or I guess you can say a lot of songs that I would sneak in there were about her, or thoughts that I had about her. And you know, one of the last songs that I wrote about her was in '99. It was right around the time she got married. Still only had positive things to say. I would have liked to have been able to play music at her wedding, but that didn't work out. But I was invited to the wedding. I did go to the wedding. I did go to the reception. Both of my daughters did as well, and it was nice. It was very, very nice, and it was a true pleasure that I was invited to it. Other albums were dedicated to specifically to one person. Me, Don, and John lost a very dear friend of ours in 1990. In Halloween in '90, we lost Lori Howley due to a tragedy that I'm not going to go into, because I have tremendous respect for her family and things like that, and I'm not going to be digging up and putting out stuff. I have no business doing that, and I wouldn't want to do it to Lori anyway. But her life tragically ended on Halloween of '90. But she really inspired us, because Lori was the kind of person, she was nice to everybody, and she had this mentality. I mean, we were horrible. Our music was so horrible. I mean, people would be like, dude, you fucking serious? You know, this is terrible stuff, get it away. And Lori would be like, no, it's okay, you play it. And quite honestly, I don't know if she was just being nice and the wonderful person that she was, or if she was really onto something, or maybe both. Because, like I said, those particular songs that we did back in the early days, its popularity has quadrupled, twofold from what it was back when we did it. Although our tenure with Lori was extremely short due to her untimely death. Lori used to say to me, I told her sister Mary one time, as Mary had asked me about how exactly I knew her and whatnot, and I was explaining. Several years ago, Mary had asked me this, and you know, and I pretty much, in a roundabout way, said what I just said. But then I said that the inspiration that she gave us was so incredible that, case in point, I told Mary this because I think her and her family need to know that, and her family is very large, but need to know the great inspiration that she gave us, because, you know, John went on to do the soundtrack for the movie American Psycho, and did the soundtrack for the Shrek movie, and several other soundtracks at that. Me, myself, I've done a total of 23 records, and that includes the new one that I'm going to be releasing probably next month. And Don did a lot of fantastic music himself. Sadly, Don died last December. Very, very sad. Very, very sick, and it was very, very unfortunate, because it was a man that really appreciated life and music and the things going on around him. And he was very, very sick, and it was very sad.
Do you think that maybe someday in the future that maybe you would be able to put some of your music that maybe that Don liked, or maybe even write some stuff that maybe you can, like, I don't know, could say that and Don inspired you at one point in time? Do you think you'd be able to do a record with some of that music if you could write it?
Are you referring to writing maybe perhaps a biography about him?
Yeah, maybe.
I already have written some stuff pertaining to him. I would have liked John to have participated with me, and I think it would be real nice, but I mean, you can ask him when you see him, but when I asked him, he said no. But it's really hard doing that because, I mean, we did the Songs for Laura album in '91. Laura hadn't been dead for more than 6 months, and we were already starting the pre-recordings of it. And I mean, it was just shy of my 16th birthday, and me and Lori were the same age. Well, Lori was born in December. I was born in March, so she was a couple of years older than me, or I'm sorry, a couple months older than me. But it was very, very painful to do. I'm not even sure that Lori would have really liked us doing that about her. I think she might have, but she might not have. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think it would be fair to say that if we would have asked her about doing something like that, she probably would have come to us with that incredible laugh that she had. But I'm not really sure what her response would have been. But we did it because we felt like we had to do it, because we felt as though we owed her that. But she was never really part of the band or anything, but she really gave us a lot of inspiration, and I think a lot of it was because of the nice, wonderful person she really was, that a lot of people don't know about. I always felt as though she had got a raw deal about personality and whatnot, but this album I hoped at the time would set the record straight. I'm not sure if it did or didn't. I know at the time a lot of people really liked it. They still do. I've actually thought about redoing the record, but it's 27 years later, it's still not that easy to sing, because those great memories come flooding back, and the disastrous memories and the tragic memories come back, and it's the tragic memories are not things I prefer to really discuss or talk about.
Okay, you said you were working on a current record that will probably be out next month. Can you give us a little bit of details on how you came up with this album?
I moved from northern part of the United States, moved to southern part of the United States, and so now the people that I was working with up north were no longer with me. So I had to try something new, and I was due for a change, and so I decided to do something new and something different. And so I wanted to make a record movie-like style, which I do have an idea, and a very strong idea, something I want to sink my teeth into, about making the album into a movie-like setting, and actually maybe producing a movie with it. Now, before we go into that, though, I want to say one thing that Lori Holly always used to tell me. She always used to say, if you know the album, the Songs for Lori album, one of the songs at track 4, it's called Work. And on that song, I said how the effective message was, Lori always used to tell me, sometimes I think you're a little bit too lazy. I think, every album that you make, you need to put at least 15 songs on it, whether, you know, you like some of the tracks or not, put them on there. Put them out there. And I'm glad she said that. And in memory of her, every album since has had 15 tracks on it. I've had a couple with a little bit more, but every album has had 15 tracks on it. This album that I'm currently getting ready to release also will have 15 tracks. There was a lot more tracks that was originally recorded. I just got to kind of weed through it and figure out exactly what I want to put on it. But the idea of it, of this new album, which is untitled at this point, but I will be coming up with a title soon. It's kind of a non-fiction but yet fiction story about myself, of course, like all records, about how I had met the woman of my dreams in Pennsylvania, and how I really got screwed over by her, horribly screwed over, and how I went from feeling so good about it to being shattered, and then literally kind of losing my mind for a while, and then coming back into the grips of reality to a more stable like atmosphere, if you will, excuse me, with life and with just everything all around. And I really want to make a movie with it, because it's written movie-like style, or almost like a lot of sound effects are in it that would be very similar to what people would know from maybe like Pink Floyd. So this is something definitely different for me.
Okay. Well, speaking of style, since that one's a new style for you, what can you say your styles are from when you were with the band that you kind of drifted away from now and went your own way? Or have you pretty much stayed with the styles you had back then to now?
Well, I pretty much stayed with the same style up until this new record. And I'm telling you, if anybody is any kind of a fan of mine, in my opinion, you will really love this new record. You really will, because this is something different for me. Anybody who knows what I went through in Pennsylvania with a certain specific individual will definitely be able to tell what I'm singing about. And it follows a really good storyline. But back to what your initial question was, that my style has never really changed, because I've always used the same three chords, and I don't know that I really want my style to change that much, because I've been doing it for 27, 28 years now, and I feel no need to change it.
Okay. Well, if it works for you, it works for you. Why change it?
Well, that's one thing I want to make a point about. I don't do my music to impress people. That's why I don't do real good with people like producers or things like that, because I like to do it my way. I like to put stuff out there. I do it for me. I do it for me. If anybody, and I have quite a life story anyway, for those who know me, know what kind of a life I've had, and you know, basically the rags to riches kind of life, from many things and other different circumstances. It's quite a story. If you ever want to know anything about me, it's definitely all there.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. We can always find you. Any place that you've actually played at that you would go back to if they asked you to come back?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them?
All of them. There isn't a place that I haven't enjoyed playing. You know, one thing I learned when I was learning how to sing as a young man, and back to the singing aspect, I want to point this out, and most people that know my music should know, I always wanted to make music as if I was sitting talking to a friend, and I me and Don and John initially tried to make our music annoying because we were pissed off, angry young guys who didn't give a fuck about what the world thought about anything. Now, our idea was to annoy the shit out of people, and we did a pretty good job at that. Even still today, some of the stuff is actually made to annoy rather than to enjoy. Like the late great Andy Warhol always said, anything is art that you can get away with.
Okay. Are you looking to play any place in particular? Like, are you going to try to see if you can go out and do a couple live shows?
I would like, somewhere that I haven't played where I would like to play, and I'm sure that I could, is Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley down here in Dallas. They own a restaurant called Rock and Brews. A fantastic place. The food's incredible. The atmosphere, the art is great. They're great guys, and incredible musicians to say the least. They have bands that come down and do live shows all the time down there, and I would love to do it. You know, and I would love to do more shows with John, to be honest with you. But you have to remember, I mean, you know, it's not about money. We don't need the cash, so it's not like it's something that we have to do to get by, and so we don't. But with myself as far as solo, I would love to play there. I do have intentions on talking to them about that at a future date.
Okay. Well, you guys, if you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to post them in the comment. Make sure you guys like and share and subscribe so that way you can get some more information about him. And we are going to go ahead and cut this off, and we will see you guys next time.